Okay, Allan Hicks. I've been in the trucking industry 46 years. Spent the first few years driving, then spent about 22 years in the LTL industry, and then tried to get out of the trucking industry. Couldn't make it, got back in, and went on the truckload side, and for the last 19 years I've been truckload. I've been running the safety department for B.R. Williams now going on 18 and a half years.
Excellent. So how long have you been an Infinit-I client?
3.5 years, I think, this month. So.
Perfect. What were you doing before you were using Infinit-I as far as training goes?
I was holding quarterly meetings. I have 150 drivers. I would average getting in about 60% of those drivers on a quarterly basis. And in a large group setting, I mean, a lot of times, I only had like an hour of that time for a safety, so that's not a lot of safety. And most of that time was talking about results and not training itself. So,
do you know how many kind of a percentage of drivers that actually showed up for those?
60% of the drivers on an average.
Pretty good for a person.
Yeah.
With that, what roles or what key indicators played a role in you moving to the online side of the house?
Number one was getting all of my drivers, some type of training, and just being able to get more training than what I was currently doing, as in content and that type thing.
And when you went to online, what challenges did you face?
With any change within a company, I had the drivers tell me they can't do the training, they don't know how to do a computer, anything like that, and had those struggles.
What did you do to overcome?
We handheld some drivers. We basically set up a computer at each of our locations. We've got 2 locations. And we brought them in, set them down, and I had a person at each one of those locations that would get them logged on. And to be honest with you, probably less than 10 drivers were doing it that way. The majority were doing it away. And those 8 or 10 drivers still come in, but now all we do is log them on, and they do the training on their own.
How long, what kind of adoption curve did it take to get everybody actually trained?
I did a soft start with that lasted about 6 months. Just a couple of videos a month, just getting them used to going into the new system.
And do you have company drivers, or do you have any kind of
Majority is company. I've only got a handful of owner-operators.
Did they have any problems doing the training at all, as far as resistance?
No. No.
Okay. And how did you introduce the program to your drivers?
One of my last quarterly meetings I held, I talked to them about it. And then at that time, right before I started, I was bringing every driver in, talking about CSA, and I had a lot of one-on-one meetings. And in that process, I talked to them about the Infinit-I product.
Did your rollout go pretty smooth?
It did. I had some drivers that didn't want to do it at first, but after some coaching and all, they all got on board.
Is there anything you know now that you would change from doing it again?
Not really, because we had within 6 months, we were probably up to about 70% doing it on a regular basis. So.
Okay. How do you currently manage the program?
I've got one individual inside that we look and pull a report on the 15th of the month to see who has not done. I assign the training on a monthly basis. So at the 15th of every month, she goes in, pulls a report, and we'll basically reach out to the driver and say, hey, you haven't done your training, you've got 2 weeks left to do it.
Now, do you have, is everything mandatory, or is it optional to do the training?
Mine is mandatory. I have it tied to their monthly incentive program. If they don't do the training, they lose points, which basically costs them some money. And, occasionally I'll have that driver that says, I'm just not going to do it. And we've had some conversations, and eventually they start doing it.
Okay. Any questions that y'all have so far?
I just have one.
Sure.
front of the drivers at all now that you started this program about 3.5 years? Or?
No, I do not. I don't hold any. Well, I'll take that back. I do one meeting a year, and that is a safety awards meeting.
Okay.
But it is not any training or anything, strictly awards.
As far as getting the information to them, are you doing it through a communications in the truck? Are they doing it on a mobile device? Are they doing it on a tablet?
I do mine all mobile device. I've got guys that do it on their phones, do it on tablets, Kindles, laptops at home, and so forth. So we don't.
How do you get out? I'm going to piggyback off that question. How do you get out to your drivers that there's new training?
I don't have to. They know it's there the first of the month.
So from doing it, just you set the culture that it's going to be
every month, every first of the month. If we had been late on something before I started setting up the annual training, they would call me on the 3rd or the 4th. You hadn't got the training up yet.
That's right.
So.
Drivers are getting pretty good.
My question is for you, maybe. Is this system compatible to, like, if I want to send, can drivers train on our Qualcomm system?
They have one of the versions that they can use right now. I think it's the 200. But what they're doing is they've actually reached out to us to work with them to get it compatible on all their units. So we're actually in the very beginning of working on that process to get
that's something in the future.
That is something in the future.
What about the people in the system?
Same thing with Omnix. We're a little bit further ahead with PeopleNet than we are with OmniTrax.
And within theirs, the Blue 2, the new tablets, all up?
Yeah, what it has to be, here's one of the guidelines or rules, it has to have access to get to the web. So the Bluetooth, it gets to the web, so it should be, we're just working on the operating system to be a little bit more compatible, and so it takes some programming on both sides, so it looks very positive so far.
We're doing alpha testing for people that Android-based tablet
That will solve a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
That will solve a lot of issues there. So that's good on that aspect of it. How many videos are you assigning out every single month?
I assign 4 videos a month.
4 videos a month. Do you have a lesson plan that you do, and it's all targeted lesson plans, or how do you pick?
What I do is every December, I will pick a training theme for the year. It could be CSA, it could be miles per gallon or whatever, and I go in and pre-assign for a year for whatever training for that month pops up on the 1st of the month. So I don't have to go in on a monthly basis and say, what am I going to be adding this month? And then if there's any remedial or anything like that, I'll add that on a timely basis.
Are you using the system for more than just your drivers, or is it just your drivers?
I've got everybody in our company on it. I've got warehousing.
Your executive team too? Your executive team as well?
Yes. I've got my brokerage department, dispatchers, shop personnel, shop management, warehouse, and warehouse management.
And so I know we have your.
He's got a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So you set your ear up, can you go in and edit it because you see a trend of something that you want to address?
Yeah, you can add new training or take away at any point during the year.
Like you said, CSA, that was going to be your one for the year. Would you direct that also to your warehouse and your dispatchers? You have something?
I do to the shop and dispatchers and brokerage department. The warehouse, I don't. Okay. With the safe zone, there's enough training in there for them to do that. And on the warehouse side and shop side especially, I mean, we were holding monthly, quarterly monthly meetings for about an hour. And now, instead of taking them out of production, when they have a slow time during the month, they go in and do their training.
Why don't you talk about some of the results?
Okay. These are results, and this is just something I talk about, and you look at the awareness side, the training communication over here. And what I'm going to show you is actual results over the last 4 years, 3.5 years, well, 4 years actually. And this is my report to our CEO of the company that I do on a monthly basis to show him where we're at as far as CSA and everything else. And if you can see, the green line in 2012, unsafe driving, was just continually driving up right toward the threshold. In 2013, we started turning the trend around. 2014, we got down into the 20s, and the first 2 or 3 months this year, I had a couple of drivers that got a speeding ticket. It jumped the score up a little bit, but you can see in May, it started dropping back down again. Hours of service, we're only about 30% ELDs, so we, you know, are seeing more improvement there since we've started adding on. But you know, a lot of that had to do, I could go for months and not have a violation, and because of my peer group, I stayed where I was. I couldn't make any improvement. But with us adding on a few more ELDs lately, we're starting to see the trend there go down. So that has been a major change for us.
Are you on electronic logs?
Only about 30 to 35%. Yeah.
I know ours, we went to electronic logs, and ours just went, our violation went.
Yeah, and it does. It takes it away from it. Absolutely. This is my maintenance score. You can see in 2012 was up about 49. It started trending down. 2013 it went up a little bit high, but then in the last couple of years we've stayed in the 30s there, and that's been the trend over, you know, the last 3.5 years. If you go back prior to 2000, say 2010 and 11, I was up above the threshold in maintenance, and we did some things there prior to bringing Infinit-I on that helped that score. But it's, you know, and the CSA, I mean, if the shop personnel don't understand what CSA is and what violations occur, then, you know, they can't, but they can help. Crash, this is, and I know, you know, this is not supposed to be public, but you can see where we were at in 2012. We were above the threshold. 2013, first half of the year, we were below. Then we had some crashes, and you know, it's just like any carrier out there. This is not just the ones that are your fault. These are all the crashes. We have red trucks, and a lot of times I've told them, hey, they love hit red trucks because they do it all the time. And so about 70% of our crashes were not our fault.
So that's our problem.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, what do you do with that? And I think, you know, that is the major issue with this basic is, you know, there's been a battle ever since CSA came out. But, you know, you can see in 2014 it went down, and you can see the direction we're going in 2015. And I mean, you know, they're not our fault, but, you know, through the training and all, we have been able to make the drivers aware of looking at their surroundings, you know, and being able to watch. And, you know, you're still going to have those guys that hit you and not paying attention to you. But, you know, that's been a major reason for that. And I'll say now, and I normally say it at the very first, Infinit-I's not a 100% of it because I've got an entire program. But I think the awareness and behavior side of it plays a big part in it, and that's what we're able to do through Infinit-I. The other three, we have zeros. No violations. So you can see, you know, we've over the last 3.5 years, we've made a big stride in reducing our CSA scores. Then you get into preventable accidents. You see there on the top, 2013, we were, and this is number of preventable accidents. And you know, in the first January you have 10, December you have 20. The numbers increase as the year goes, and that's why the upward trend. But you can see. In 2012, about mid-year, we had started having less preventable accidents. And you can see where we're at in 2015. Our preventable accidents are again less than where we are in the previous 2 years and all. And then DOT accidents per million miles. You can see the trend since 2012. 2015 is up, but we've actually not had but 3 accidents in the first 6 months. Let me knock on wood. But our miles, you know, until the year goes along and the miles build up. Annual cost per accident. This one blew my mind away about a year and a half, 2 years ago. They wanted me to start looking at this. And you can see in 2010, my annual cost per accident $10,000. Okay, in 2015, I'm down at about $1,600 an accident through the first half of the year. These 3.5 years. Yeah. And then you get into accident cost per mile, and you can see the trend there. Both of those are going down. And it's all about behavior. And, you know, if you don't keep things in front of them, try to change their behavior, then, you know, you're not going to see improvements. And that's it.
So with the training itself, are you using just our library, or do you do custom content?
I do custom content. I'm getting into it more now than I have in the past. You know, we're just recently videoed a process within the shop on how to fuel a truck for new shop employees. And we're doing other things other than driver training on there. I just did some ISO training, certification training, put that on there for people to look at. I do annual letters to the drivers. I'll put that on there so I know that they've all got a chance to look at it. So yeah, we're starting to use it more and more as we go forward.
Now, a lot of companies, we have, if you've logged into the system before, we have a welcome page that goes out to anybody who logs in. Do you use that to promote any kind of information to the drivers?
Every month for the last 2 or 3 years, I put my CSA scores there, so when a driver logs on, that's the first thing he sees. So they'll know what scores are there on a monthly basis, what we're doing. If I have anything new that's coming up, I'll put in a Word document or, you know, something like that to tell them what's happening. So yes.
So if you wanted to put like a post trip in there, how a post trip should be done, you could put something like
Well,
that.
you wouldn't put that in that message board.
I mean, you can do them
yeah.
custom.
Yes.
I mean, I've talked to our shop. I'm trying to get it set up now to where we've got specific equipment, okay, and I want a new employee to know how to do a pre-trip on that. And we take a camera and we go through the process. They're looking at our equipment, and, you know, orientation is another example. Going to video the CEO of the company for a message to new employees, you know.
Now, as far as results, and you can tell me if you can even share this, because I don't know if you can, but I saw the big reduction in accidents, and a lot of it you talk about the behavioral change aspect.
Mm-hmm.
What has that meant to your bottom line?
Well, you just look at the accidents along, say we have an average of 40 accidents a year, and I call everything accident-wise, if it has $1 damage, it's an accident to me. So you take 40 accidents at $10,000, $400,000, and then you drop it down to, say, $1,500. That's a big change to the bottom line.
So you guys have ventured into like the OSHA side of it to train people, your employees on?
There's some forklift training in there. There's some, I think, welding. Trying to think of everything that I use.
There is HASCOM.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's mainly OSHA awareness. It's
Yeah.
what we call a safe zone catalog.
Okay.
So we have 2 different catalogs. We'll get into that so you can see the big differences.
Okay.
One's more trucking related, one more OSHA awareness related. You know, we do have 50 or so videos in there. That's everything from personal protective equipment to heat stress to enclosed spaces.
And we can generate a run.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, if anybody ever says, hey, your video ours, it's always going to be ours. Because, not mine, I mean yours.
Right, correct.
Because it will be more impactful to your drivers when they see you versus they see us.
Okay.
And that makes a difference. So far, you've launched the system, you're doing your training, you're using custom content. Talk about your relationship with Vertical Alliance Group's client services, because I know anybody who rolls out a system, you're going to have to lean on client services a little bit, and it's very important to have a good relationship. So can you share a little
I mean, they've been great to work with. Tanya, who is ours, I mean, she calls me, says, hey, you know, there's a new video coming out. Keeps asking, you know, do you want me to do your safety plan for the year? And I mean, normally I'll go in and pick my own and put it in. She said, well, do you want me to enter it? And I'm old school, you know, we do a lot of the work in-house, but, you know, she's always checking with me, seeing what she can do. I had a custom content video the other day, and I figured, 3 or 4 days I would have it back and have it on working. Within 2 hours, she had it up on the site, ready to go, and I was ready to do the training.
Now, I know our client services calls a couple times a month. Do you see those calls as intrusive, beneficial, helpful?
No, because I may, skip email on a webinar that's coming up, and she, say, hey, do you want to attend? If you do, let me register you, and she's done that several times.